So, hello everyone, and I'm Ophir Duan, and today I have a privilege to talk to a wonderful teacher, and I had the opportunity to learn from her through the years. I met her a few times in Israel and one time in Croatia in a very, very beautiful and interesting gathering that the MCE did. And I want to say hi to Susanna Nikolich.
Hi, Ophir.
How are you in these crazy days?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, it is crazy. Sometimes I feel frustrated because I teach online the whole semester, and sometimes I feel blessed because I'm home and I have still connection with my students in China. So I just spent 10 days on a beautiful island at my friend's house, and I thought, and teaching almost every day my Chinese students, having class with them, and I thought, wow, what a privilege to be here in, you know, pure nature, be able to swim in a so clean sea, you know, no people, quiet, peace, and still be connected with, you know, such a far world such as China. So basically I'm good.
So the corona has its advantages.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
You're not leaving your houses in Croatia?
No, we do. We went through complete lockdown through March and April and a part of May. So for a while now we are free to go out, and in Croatia people are very naughty. They behave like nothing happened 2 weeks ago. So we are free.
We'll start with the basic information. Name, age, country, and current position, or, you know, what are you doing right now professionally?
Okay, so my name is Susanna Nikolich, and I'm 55 in 2 weeks. And as I said, currently I'm teaching online my Chinese students at Shanghai Theater Academy. And I'm Croatian, but I think I said it as well, in Zagreb right now, because I came for holidays in the end of January, and then I just had to stay because of the whole pandemic situation. So I'm still here. Hopefully I'll go to China, back to China in the end of July, beginning of August, and prepare for the next semester.
So you teach the Chekhov Technique now in Shanghai, and you're one of the founders of, tell us.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, I am one of the founders of Michael Chekhov Europe, along with my, I think, 10 colleagues from different countries in Europe, like Belgium, Germany, Finland, Denmark, Netherlands, Croatia. And I was also one of the founder of the Michael Chekhov Europe training program, along with my almost brothers, Ulrich Meyer-Horsch, Uli, and from Hamburg, and everybody knows him, and Jesper Nielsen from Copenhagen. And we started in 2007, the Michael Chekhov Europe. Then the three of us actually met for almost 3 years before we really started with our program. And it's a very exciting program. It consists of 6 modules, and each module is, you know, other topic, and all the 6 modules cover the whole of the technique, and we started with the first workshop in Grozny in Croatia, where have you been as well, in 2010, and we are still doing it. This year we will cancel it, but it's good to make a pause sometimes. So I think that's for good, but not forever. So, and also we established 2 years ago, we established a teachers training program, the three of us. So we are growing, we are making researches all the time. We are, trying to find, deeper sense in the technique, and you can always go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I think Mr. Chekhov would be very proud, not just of the three of us, but all of us, also you talking now to me, to David. It's beautiful that you had this idea and you are using this technology, and we are leaving the threads, right? And we are, holding all these fires, and we are going through the whole world with these fires. So Michael Chekhov Europe did so many workshops all over in Europe, in many workshops in Turkey, in Tel Aviv, in Asia, and especially Uli is very active.
You're everywhere, and it's amazing. And also Uli, yeah, you and Uli, but Uli is really like a roadrunner going.
Yes, it is really unbelievable how much energy and stamina and the genuine talent for connecting the people Uli has. I really admire him so much about that, and I feel like I'm the first one who follows him, but sometimes it's not easy because it is really a lot. It's amazing, but it's I think it's good because we really have something to say. We have a very, very good program, and we are really doing our best. So I think all our students really get a lot out of our program. So that's nice, and I know we are growing through it. We are nourishing our work, and it's a two-way street. It's about giving and receiving, really.
And what is your first memory of the art world that made an impact? Like a theater performance or a movie or painting?
I grew up in a very small town. I think it was at the time, it was like maybe around 10 to 12,000 citizens. And it was not that there was no theater. There was, in Croatia, there was a theater group, which traveled. So I was able to see many of their performances. I would go every time with my parents, especially with my mother, to see the theater with them. I wouldn't say that there was much of artistic frame around that work, but it was a good work. And it was a traveling theater for people. Which was amusing people, not really more than that, so it was a lot of laughter and amusement. But still, it was a live theater, so this was my first encountering with the live theater. But I was more into the literature. I was reading a lot. So I was reading, I was swallowing the books, especially Russian literature, classical literature, like Tolstoy and Dostoevsky and Bulgakov, who is still my favorite writer, and other things. But I was also surrounded with music all the time, because I was at very early age started to study piano, and then that was elementary musical school, which lasted for 6 years, and then then I continued with flute for 2 more years. So, you know, I was either playing classical music like Mozart or Bach or Beethoven, or there were other things, but you know, I was surrounded with music and I loved it, and I still love it.
Do you still play?
Yeah, no, I don't. I do have still piano. I don't have flute though, but I would rather play flute because I prefer flute. I really love it, but I don't have it. I did play in my, when I was playing Irina in the Three Sisters. That was already like 20 years ago, although it seems like it was yesterday. But I did play flute there in the end of the performance, because the director imagined that all the, you know, all of them play instruments because they're educated and they speak languages, and of course they play instruments. And so Masha was playing cello and I was playing flute, and Olga was playing piano. Yeah, so that was the last time I played flute, but the last time I played piano I don't even remember. Ashamed to say, yes, but maybe, you know, when I'm like 80-old lady sitting in my, you know, living room, just reading and playing piano again. That's the picture I have right now, an image.
And when and where did you learn the arts?
So when I was 18, I auditioned at the Academy of Dramatic Arts in Zagreb, and I was accepted immediately. It was a 4-year acting program, and yeah, this was a special time for me. It was another country. It was ex-Yugoslavia. It was completely another energy back then. We didn't have internet. Information didn't travel so fast. We were more free, I would say, and the connection between people was more genuine, I would say.
Did you enjoy it?
Oh yes, very much. Yes, but I wouldn't go back. Also, you know, there's something about that was in 84, and you know, with 18 you just want to act, and you want to act through emotions, because you think emotions are the main, you know, thing how one can express, and you have no idea actually, I mean, what is possible. And when I look back now to that time, I see a lot of pain as well, because I was struggling, not knowing how really to act, which of course I didn't know at that time. But I remember, I mean, I had wonderful teachers. They were all you know, great directors and actors, and I was able to see them on the stage. So I would say that actually I was observing what they're doing on the stage, and then when they you know, in the class asked me to do this or that, then I would probably kind of maybe even imitate, or remembering what they are doing, I would try to analyze how they do it. And then that was my, you know, that was the only technique I knew back in the time. We were kind of taught early Stanislavski, or a version of early Stanislavski, but you know, and we were reading Stanislavski, but really I'm not sure that I understood any of it really. You know,
I think most of us doing it when we're studying at the, you know, because in Israel I can't think of a studio that has a very well structured technique, because you're taking from a lot of teachers and a lot of theories, and yeah, you're observing and you're taking, but there's no a coherence.
Yeah, isn't that amazing and strange that even nowadays in 21st century, after all these Russians, including, of course, Chekhov and Stanislavski and Vakhtangov and Meyerhold and, etc. And after Peter Brook and after, Grotowski and after all these guys, that we still have schools which don't really offer their students, a variety, at least one or two techniques or methods, practical methods. Yeah. This is strange.
I feel it too. Yeah, I feel it too. That's one part of the thing, that I want to change. I don't know, to put inside the professional studios. I go for Michael Chekhov, right? But to do it from the beginning to the end, how you can't do it really, but really to try and do it.
Yes. Yes, I support you.
And what was your first professional part?
I was still in the academy. I just finished the second year, and there was this performance, Midsummer Night's Dream, by Shakespeare, of course. So I was not the first cast for Helena, but my colleague and a friend, dear and close friend, Cynthia Ashberger, an actress who lives now in Toronto. She just got pregnant and was moving to Toronto at the time, and the director was looking for the replacement for Helena. I think she did maybe a few performances or something. So I jumped in, and that was my first part. It was very exciting to start within a professional theater with all these actors that I admired, and with such a nice part such as Helena. So
was that the same theater that you watched as a child? No.
No. It was a real theater. Like a real mainstream theater. Yeah.
Okay, and when was the first time that you came across the Chekhov technique, and maybe what did you think about it at first?
I got a book in '92 from one of my professors, who was actually my mentor, and I was assisting him in the academy at that time. And he went to the States on a tour with a performance. He came back. I was covering him actually in the class. And he brought this book, and I still have it with me. I just reminded myself, because I was kind of looking at your questions, and then I thought, well, yes, this was my first encounter with Michael Chekhov Technique. So I got this book, and I still have his, sign in it and the date, wishing us a nice collaboration, something like that he said. And I read it, but I really didn't understand a lot. And even trying some of the exercises was really impossible. You cannot, it's too complicated. Do it alone.
Yeah, you can't work really with this book alone. You can do it, but you need guidance, I think, I feel.
Yes. Yes, because his ideas are so big that you just, you need a guidance, first of all. So then I met a guy I was in one of the conferences that Cicely Berry held in Stratford-upon-Avon. she was my mentor for a few years. She was a very close friend to my friends here in Croatia who are translators, and she knew some actors from 70s when she was coming here to hold a workshop. So she was a dear friend, and I was there, and I met a guy from Poland, Mariusz Orski. I still remember his name, although I didn't stay in touch. And he was saying, he was talking about Michael Chekhov, and he was saying that he is actually combining Grotowski and Michael Chekhov. So I brought him to do the workshop here at the Academy in Zagreb and in Grozny. So that was actually the first time I did, bits and pieces of Michael Chekhov, but really couldn't make a lot of sense out of it, honestly. So we didn't stay in touch, not just because of that I didn't make a sense. I mean, there were other colleagues. We really couldn't figure out what is this technique still. But then, some years passed, and I was still in Lee Strasberg's method acting, because when I graduated from the academy, me and a few other colleagues, professional actors, we heard about two guys, one actor, professional actor from Slovenia, from Ljubljana, and his brother, a dramaturgist, who just came from LA, where they studied with Lee Strasberg himself. And at that time, the Godfather movie was like everything to us, and Lee Strasberg and all these guys, Elia Kazan and Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, all these guys went to Lee Strasberg and method acting, and and Stella Adler, group theater, that we knew about that, and we had this hunger, to and curiosity to do more, to find out what are the secrets, for acting. And so that's how we started to work with them. It was in 89. So still, in 93, I was trying to do this work with Mariusz Orski. It didn't really work out. It was still not clear what is this technique, but still I was intrigued by it. And then after a few years, in 98, I went to my Fulbright scholarship to New York, to Tisch University of Art graduate acting program. And first person that I met there was Joanna Merlin.
Wow.
I don't remember how, but somebody, like in the hall or some, I just captured, that she was Michael Chekhov's student. And I was just blown away. And of course, immediately I came to her, I introduced myself. I was a researcher there. So it was a nice position for me, to make
contact.
Yes. So, and she invited me actually to come to, I think it was Actor's Studio, where she was giving lessons. And I went there, and she offered me to work with me individually. And since Joanna's, she's a really truly expert in PG. She does a lot of PG. So she did maybe 10 classes of teaching me what PG is and how
PG,
to do.
for the one who doesn't know, it's psychological gesture.
Yes. So I was taught by her psychological gesture, and I was very confused. I was, it was beautiful, and I felt like I was lifted, and I was probably overwhelmed, but I was still lost. I couldn't, everything started to make sense, but still, and in Chekhov Technique, there's so many elements, and it takes time. You cannot do it in 10 classes. It is not, there's no way that you can do it in, you know, I don't know, even 5 years is like, okay, now you start.
Yeah.
So that was my first encounter. And then immediately after this, it was 98, I went in 99 to Misha conference. She said, you sure you can come there? This is, and it was the first year when Misha was established. So I was there, and it was at Eugene O'Neill Theater, which is just, you know, amazing, the most charming place in the world, you know. And it was, I don't know, it was a dream to be there for me, and to learn from all these, you know, master teachers like David.
So now we're going to ask the next question. Who is the most influential teacher or teachers that taught you the technique? You can talk about a few of them.
Yeah, because you cannot go just with one. And also they are so different, and you learn from each of them something different.
Yeah.
They have different approach, and you cannot value one more than the other one. So yes, well, Joanna was my first teacher, and I just cherish her, you know, as the closest. I don't know, it's just too you know, I learned from Joanna not just psychological gesture, but I see when I look, you know, at myself, like, you know, like you in meditation, you go beyond yourself and you look at you. And sometimes I do that while teaching. I try to observe how I teach people, and what I really truly learn from her, and she's the best in that. I learned how to now this will sound maybe, you know, like maybe corny, but this is really the truth, how to sense the soul of the student. So how to forget about me, and really, like, you go into your character, you want to step into somebody else's shoes, and you want to sense somebody else's soul. So for me, it's the same with the students, and I know I learned it from Joanna, because she is like the best in losing herself and really diving deep into somebody else, into the student abilities, potentials, and then she, you know, then she is in the flow with the student. So I love that, and I really appreciate that I learned that from her. And I always admired that kind of approach, working with students. But then, you know, David Zinder really was, I worked a lot with him, because he was many times in Grozny, in Zagreb, and really the Chekhov technique really requires you to change your whole learned thinking about the world, about the art, about everything. So for me, David was really a key person, a key teacher, who taught me how to, you know, reverse, how to learn to look into the theater acting in a completely opposite way that I was taught before. And this is really, I mean, I remember, and he put it in his book, actually, when we were working in Grozny, his famous exercise plastique that he took from Grotowski, and, you know, he calls it pre-Chekhov, etc. And in this exercise, I completely lost myself, but still was present with myself, you know. So in that moment, in this exercise, I learned what does it mean to be an artist in the moment, and to work with the feeling of ease, with the feeling of the whole, with the feeling of form, and with a feeling of beauty. That was for me, you know, the like a really aha moment when I was, not just aha moment, it was more than that, because the whole thing lasted for maybe, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. It was a real revelation for me. And all other exercises with, you know, image work with David, and yeah, all his work with yeah, a lot of work with images really made a huge impact on me and my work. So that was David, and then Leonard Petit, who just with him I learned how free you can be and how creative you can be with the technique. And this you cannot teach it by the book. You cannot do it by the book. It's not, you know, like you learn archetypal gestures and then you can do the psychological gesture, you know, and kind of, you know, what the qualities are, and then you combine the two, and there's this, no way. So, and then, you know, also this comes from him and from both from Joanna and Leonard, the work with archetypes. So that was also kind of wow. The whole new world opened for me. And then, you know, I was working, I think in 2 workshops with Mala Powers, in 1 workshop with Jack Colvin, and just the fact that they were also, you know, Michael Chekhov students, really was very radiating to me and very inspiring to me. So I remember, well, maybe not every moment, but I vividly remember working with Mala, you know, and with Jack. Jack talking about 3 sisters, where, you know, all of us who were in the workshop, I think most of us for the first time were introduced with the 3 sisters exercise. So it was, and I think there was, so Joanna, David, Leonard, and of course, Ted and Fern. So, I mean, that simplicity and ease that Ted and Fern have in their work, I mean, I'm not putting them together, you know, separately in what they do, and Fern working with qualities. And today I was attending Misha community meeting, and Ted was doing crossing the threshold. Oh my God, I mean, so simple, so profound and deep always. So these are, I think, my best teachers.
And an influential sentence that you heard from one of your teachers.
Right. You know, maybe nothing really I don't know, for me it really was it was very important, and it still is, to learn from Joanna told, I don't remember whether was it addressing to the group or, but as if she told it to me. That's how I remember it. You know, if you have choice, you will always be okay. Because when you don't have a choice as an actress on the stage, then there is the reason to, you know, feel I don't know, not confident, or yeah, not on ease. But when you have choice, then you just have to make the right, to, you know, to make the right choice, to choose the most valuable choice for you. And you will be able to do it just if you go back again and again to the training process. So this thing with choice is really something that resonates a lot with me.
And even if you're doing the bad choice, you're still not dead on the stage, and you're alive, and yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you can always find another one when you realize, oh, this is a bad one. Because in the theater, the beauty of it, as we know, is that you can change it next evening, or, in a few evenings. Or
why, in your opinion, it is important to teach and spread the Chekhov technique?
oh, it's a very, I mean, it's not that difficult question as much as the answer is, because I think the answer is, for me at least, a very complex one. And I'm not sure I can articulate it, but for me it has to do a lot with empathy that has been lost in the world we live in. And I think Chekhov teaches us about empathy, love. I mean, before I met Chekhov Technique, I never heard anybody saying me, why don't you imagine the audience as your friends? They're not your enemies. I mean, yes, of course, I love my audience. But before that, I was like always, carrying that fear. What they are going to say about me? I don't care anymore. I mean, it's not about what they are going to say, because this is coming from ego and egotism. So here, this thing with what Chekhov says, yes, of course you start with I. Yes, of course you cannot lose yourself. You have yourself. But, going beyond yourself, as he advises us to go beyond the writer. Also going beyond yourself opens, I guess, the door of this famous creative individuality and higher intellect and all these wonderful sensations which are connected to something which is up there, but not here, jealousy. And how in theater there is a beautiful book by Bulgakov. I think it is called Black Snow. And he says it's a novel. And he's talking about the actors at MHAT, Moscow Art Theater, in that novel. And he's talking about this envy and jealousness and how, actresses are jealous because they are not getting the part. And, but the theater should be a different place. And I experienced as an actress also, crying because I thought, I should play this part because it's just me. and then they chose another one. And then it took me years and years, especially in the theater, to finally make peace with myself and to say, you know what, I don't care anymore. I mean, if the director thinks, if this is his choice or her choice, then fine. I mean, probably the thing that actors are like the things on the shelf, that we are not so independent in what we choose, makes actors frustrated. And I was frustrated, at least I was frustrated because of that. But with Chekhov, I learned that I can do better. That the egotism and my small ego about what am I going to play, and that I'm desperate because I didn't get that part, is really it doesn't matter. In the world we live, where most important things are going on, really, what does it matter whether you play this part or that part? And by the way, Uli was sharing this beautiful performance by Simon McBurney from a Theatre de la Complicité. And I remember seeing the Theatre de la Complicité a long time ago when I first came to London in early 90s. And now I remembered, what does it mean really to be engaged with the world we live in, and really to be connected, and you can do it with classical plays as well, of course, or you can do the play which is, I don't know, adaptation of a novel, or an author, I don't know, writings, or whatever, but to be connected and to be engaged with humans now or in the future or in the past, but speaking, you know, through the humans who are living this life here, and to be able to connect through anything you're speaking about, which is really alive in this moment, is, I think, most important. I don't know, maybe, you know, the idea of the theater of the future in Chekhov is connected with that. I'm never sure what it is. Are we doing it? When I see Peter Brook's play, then I know this is it, because it's an art, and it is still, you know, something which speaks about all of us, and it is connected. Or I saw no theater and kabuki theater and, you know, storytelling. And although these forms are completely kind of different because of the time and space using in storytelling, it blew me away, because it is so, storytelling is something which we need to start with, I guess. So this is, you know, something then that, you know, is not, you cannot do the theater without wanting to tell the story. And then, you know, in the theater of the future, maybe these stories should, as I said earlier, go beyond our egotistical, you know, behavior and attitudes.
And we talked about it, I think now in a bit. What are the advantages of the Chekhov technique, in your opinion, compared to other methods?
Oh, you know, there was time in my beginnings when I was kind of orthodox Michael Chekhov student. And then I thought, no, this is it. Especially comparing to Lee Strasberg's, you know, personal, and early Stanislavski personal, I mean, using your personal emotions and all these affective memories, things. It was really a revelation again for me. But, you know, I did some Zamford Meisner. I did 10 years of Lee Strasberg. I did some bits and pieces of Stanislavski, who was interpreted here by my teachers in a way they interpreted him with their experience in the best way they could, I guess. What else? I mean, I did some, you know, voice and speech work with Cisberian, Fitzmaurice, and Kristen Linklater. So I did things and workshops, but comparing to other techniques, for me, Michael Chekhov technique is, without really being overwhelmed with it or, God forbid, sentimental, which I was at the time, is the most objective and the most completed technique. Because when I dive into it, I mean, I know I can again choose so many different elements of it, and if one of it doesn't help me, I know, you know, there will be some which will help me. So I guess the objectivity is really, and the fullness of it, which for me makes the difference.
And why does an actor need a technique in the first place?
You know, these lessons for the teachers that we also used in Groznan in the retreat, right? So if you remember, there is this lesson, the need to be oriented. So I would say it helps you to orient yourself. Otherwise, you're searching for something, and maybe through your experience, you are able to establish your own technique. But why bother? I mean, why bother? There is everything in Michael Chekhov Technique, and try. And if it doesn't speak to you after a while, then you can easily, I don't know, go for something else. But yes, I think the importance of the technique, especially for someone, I think everyone who went to who played or play an instrument knows why we need the technique in order to play. So for me, there was never a question, because this is our instrument, we know that. So I don't understand why wouldn't we have the technique. Actually, this would be my question. Yeah, but why not? I mean, this is for me a necessity and an obligation. If you want to be a professional actor, for me this is really a matter of dignity which I give to my profession. So I don't care which technique, but we know eventually you don't show your technique, and you don't hide it, but you just let it be, as Chekhov says, either your second nature or you forget about it, and it works for you. If you did, a lot of trainings, and if you have the continuity of learning, so practical learning. So the technique will give you craft. The technique will give you freedom. The technique will make you able to get rid of your habits and cliches. And I always wanted to be different. Before I knew about Chekhov's transformation, I always wanted to be different. And for me, his all the process of how to transform, the characterization thing, the psychological gesture, imaginary body, work with centers and images, etc., which help you to transform, is just it is so creative, and it really brings I think every actor wants that, and he says it, so that something like transformation is every true actor wants to transform him or herself. So for me, this is really, eventually, in the end of the day, when you go onto the stage, if you really can get just with feeling of ease, just let go of everything you did and let it work for you, and it will. So yeah, why not?
What are your favorite tool or tools from the technique, and why?
So it took me 3 years to take courage to apply psychological gesture on the stage. I was lucky enough to play Irina in The Three Sisters for 5 years. I started using the method acting, and then we had 1 year break because the stage was renovated or something. And in that year of break, I was lucky to go to New York. And then I met Joanna, and I started to work with Chekhov Technique. And then I came back and I started to work with my body and feeling of heaviness, in order to go into to awaken my sensations, emotions of sadness. And it worked. And it worked again and again and again, and it worked every night. And I didn't do nothing special. I was just, whenever I moved, I just, invited the quality of heaviness. And, very soon I was overwhelmed, not as Suzana, but as Irina, with emotions. And my breath changed, and my sense of the audience's breath changed, and everything was like I felt like I was high. And then after the performance, I felt such a freedom every time. When I was using emotional memory of, I don't know, I was using my father's funeral, and it didn't work every night quite as I expected, and there was always expectations. And after the performance, I didn't feel really fulfilled artistically. And on the contrary, with Chekhov Technique, it worked without really any expectations, and I felt fulfilled artistically. So that was when I applied this. But then psychological gesture I applied for Irina a year later, and that was already 3 years that I was practicing psychological gesture only in the workshops. But then I used it in one scene in the second act, which really came to me as the most natural thing in the world. And I was like, yes, of course, this is my psychological gesture, which will serve her, Irina, because she really wanted everybody to push away. And even with such a great writer such as A.P. Chekhov, of course, there is the line when she says, oh, thank God, everybody left. So yeah, of course, it was about, pushing everybody out. I want you to leave. I want you to leave. Then there was the quality of nervousness, and I guess psychological gesture is probably one of my favorite. And also because of the thing that also Joanna taught me is that you can have one psychological gesture, even one super psychological gesture, without any other psychological gesture for the scene or for the sentence or whatever, and just change the qualities. And you will get, because as we know, the qualities awaken emotions, and this is how we do it. And this can bring a lot of new sensations, emotions for the part. So this, and also, I like to work, as I said earlier, with archetypes a lot. And the more I do it as an actress or with the students, the more I love it. And I think there is so much to find out about it. And I love to work with sustaining and pause, especially in the text. So, but I like to work with any element of the technique as well. So,
you said that you needed the courage to utilize the psychological gesture on the stage. I had a similar experience when I was acting also 5 years in King Lear. I did Edgar. And it took me a while to say, to trust it and say, okay, I'm going for it. And I don't know why. I mean, why do you think that this is, I don't know.
Well, I think there is, the psychological gesture really goes into the essence of the character, right? With this desire and will to find the right gesture for your character, then the quality was always kind of, I got it. But the gesture itself and the way that you need to internalize it and then use it as an internalized gesture, as a secret, and you don't share it, it makes kind of, again, it's my experience, it made me again overwhelmed with so many things I have to do. So I guess it came out of kind of maybe also respect, or maybe I still need to work more on how I radiate it, did I really internalize it, what is inner. I know what is outer, and I can execute it like as an outer gesture, but really, I don't know, to put it all together, I think it really takes time. You cannot take it for granted. Otherwise, it will not give you anything. It will not feed you. And I remember always Joanna saying, radiating PG really feeds you later as you come onto the stage. When you as much as you radiate it, this is what is where is the life of your character. So I guess it really takes time. I mean, at least for me, I'm slow. I'm learning slowly, but when I learn it, then I know that I learned it.
Yeah, interesting. And what is your dream regarding to the technique and its future?
Oh, you know, I have a dream. It would be really nice to have to establish an ensemble and to do a performance. I mean, we have Misha, we have MCE, we have you know, there is one thing that the older I get, I really appreciate it the more, is to belong to the community. And belonging to Michael Chekhov Europe and belonging to Misha, and you know, having this talk with you and sharing with you, and you are in Tel Aviv, and you know, making the world here, and just, you know, I think this is, it is called with Thich Nhat Hanh is one of my favorite, you know, gurus, and he says Sangha, you know, Sangha, community. So, and I think ensemble, Chekhov ensemble would be a really, really nice thing to create and to do a performance together. Wouldn't that be amazing to have like you know, group of people who are advanced in the technique in a way that they can apply it immediately, you know, and we would have only what, like in 3 weeks we would be able to do a performance.
This is a beautiful dream. I mean, you have the actors ensemble that they're doing Ted and Fern, and you know, they take a few always a few other actors. This is something that maybe we can try and do even more.
You know, we can even meet like this and then find some funding and get together and do it in 10 days. It's possible.
Interesting.
You just need an executor.
You need to convince maybe Jessica in Misha that one event will be this event.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, and you have, okay, let's see if you go with it. You have 1 minute to convince someone that completed a drama school to start learning the Chekhov technique. 1 minute, what will you say?
I would say that technique will provide you with the most beautiful experience you cannot even imagine, because you will open the spaces within yourself of which you could not ever dream that you have. And it's about imagination and creativity and enormous freedom. How did I do?
Right, I think it was less than a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, who knows? Would a young student buy it?
Okay, and this is a very interesting question to ask you. What beauty do you see in being a teacher?
I think for me, it's about giving. And I have, I think, a problem with receiving. So I'm also learning how to receive through giving. I don't have a problem with giving, but you know, working with students enables me really to be generous as I am, with sharing whatever I have without really hesitating of anything, but also to learning in the same time how to receive from them. So I guess it is about giving and receiving for me to be a teacher. It's
When
about
I,
I'm a learner. It's about, I need to learn all the time. So this is a perfect opportunity to learn.
but this is amazing because I wanted to say at the beginning of our talk, but I waited till now. I wanted to say that when you're teaching, I feel in some moments that you're also learning because I always see you, you know,
Yes.
explaining to someone and you're explaining to yourself all the time. And this
Yeah.
is so, I mean, that's what you're talking about. You're always learning, you're always, digging and exploring.
Well, you wouldn't like to have a teacher who is teaching you something which he or she doesn't believe, right? Doesn't believe. So for me, it is really important that I have the experience of all the tools that I'm teaching, not just in the working space, but also as an actress, both in the theater and in front of the camera, which I did. So for me, this is really it's a crucial thing for me to share, and also to take a risk and to go into the spaces maybe, or doing new things, old new things, in a kind of new old things in a new way, which I never did, but I trust that I experienced it, somehow, and I know what I'm doing. So, yeah.
And did you had a bad experience as a Chekhov teacher? And what did you do to improve your situation?
Sometimes we had in workshops Michael Chekhov Michael Chekhov training in Grozny, I think maybe 2 or 3 times we had some individuals who were there, but I was not sure that they were there uh, open and without any judgment to the work. But they, even after first or second day, started to judge and also open the discussions about the work. And this is probably the worst experience that I had, and I'm sure Uli would say similar thing. Maybe he had other experiences, but we experienced it together, and Jesper. So when you have kind of troublemakers in the workshop, I mean, this is you. I was also asking myself, is it me? Is it something wrong that we do? But no, it's not. It's about individuals who are there out of wrong reasons. So, and also there is one thing that it's not about bad experience with students, but I really never, I was talking about community, how important the community for me is. So I think I failed here in Croatia because after 20 and something years, I still didn't establish, a community of, a group of people who are going to carry on with the work. And this is my biggest, I don't know, yeah, it's a kind of failure so far. So I hope I would be able, I don't know the reasons, but and I'm not here anyway. I'm in Shanghai now, so it will wait for some years before I come back. But this is kind of task that I want to challenge myself to see what is possible in order to really establish and to create a group, a group of people who will be interested and inspired to carry on the work here in Croatia.
But you were, maybe this is some of the reasons, I don't know, but you were occupied to build another community. I mean, all of the MCEs is a huge community. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, maybe it was too much and my focus was somewhere else. Yeah. You know, we're all humans. I mean, there was time when my private life took over because I was dealing with some issues, but it was beautiful with the technique because I invested so much, you know, over the years, and now I see that the technique supported me, although I didn't support the technique at that time. It was over some years. And now I see, wow, the technique really supported me and carried me on, you know, through all these things when my private life was, you know, kind of priority to me. So it's true what you're saying. Sometimes we do maybe many things and we expect from ourselves that we are obliged to do more than we can. So yes, maybe you're right. When I come back from Shanghai, then my life will be more present here in order to create a group of people, a community.
And now, use 1, 2, or 3 words. Acting is?
Oh my God. Oh, acting is the most beautiful artistical form of expressing human nature.
We'll let it pass. It was 5, 6, 7, but it was beautiful. So,
what was I needed to do it in 2 words or what?
1, 2, or 3.
Oh God, I had 10. Okay.
But I will change the question for you.
Okay.
And tell me about your program of teaching. What's the platform? I mean, you can do it on MCE if you choose. You can talk about Shanghai. You can talk about whatever you want. What's the main platform? What the courses are built like? How the courses are built like?
You know, I'm very much inspired with what I do right now in Shanghai because this is the first time for me that I'm creating Michael Chekhov teaching of Michael Chekhov Technique on the university level. So I will have this generation for 3 years. And this is a great opportunity to create, to try to create a continuity of how to teach the technique. So it's also a luxury to have the whole semester, for example, to work with the 4 main principles, such as 4 brothers, which I did. Of course, and also we improvised a lot, but always with the emphasis on 4 brothers. Whatever we did with the emphasis of these 4 principles. And playing a lot of games and, you know, freeing the space and learning again how to be to find the innocent soul in the students, in all of us. So that was first semester, and then now in the second semester, well, things changed because this is, you know, a special circumstances to teach online. And it's sometimes I see a few advantages, but also, you know, I'm suffering because you know, I was talking about community, and for me, community means to be, you know, to be able to hug, to be able to touch, to be able to, you know, be alive in the same space with other people. So I'm really suffering because of that. But nevertheless, I started to work with them on characterization already. Because I thought if they have 4 main principles, we also did qualities in the first semester. And just a few of archetypal gestures like opening and closing, you know, of course, a lot of crossing the threshold. And so I thought, okay, let's start to do more with what are these gestures, how you can create a psychological gesture, how you can use the quality with the gesture. So we are, I would say, pretty successfully dealing with psychological gesture. But for me, this is only a like to have a taste of it. So this is not something which is finished work. So for me, it will continue in the next semester, and I would use the same play, which is Molière, because I think we are not dealing with the style, but just the characters are very alive and very, you know, you can even exaggerate with them. So I thought this is good because it can be very playful. And we will continue with characterization in the next semester. And of course, you know, all the time this, also knowing what my experience was with the psychological gesture, as I told you, the inner and the outer, touchable, untouchable, how you deal with that on the stage is also my focus in the next semester. And then after that, I think I would do the whole year, the characterization again. And then I would go to the atmosphere, work of atmosphere, subjective and objective, and wrap it up in the third year with that. And then I would say in fourth and, I mean, this is MA. So I was talking about BA, 3 years of BA. And now in MA, I think, you know, this is really a real advanced work with the Chekhov technique. And I have that opportunity at the Shanghai Theatre Academy to develop that kind of, you know, BA level and MA level, which is like a beginners and advanced. So that's the plan. So far, so good. We'll see. Hopefully this pandemic situation will not last for long. And we will, I don't know. Yeah. And maybe we will not go back to where we left our world and lives, but I hope improve it. So.
And tell me about a student of yours that you remember very well that touched you for some reason.
You know, I think I do remember some students who were, I mean, moments of truly being overwhelmed by the beauty of their work or transformation. In every workshop, there is at least one student which really amazes me. But you know what really touches my heart is when I see a student who is not that talented. I mean, who am I to say that somebody is not that talented? But let's say I assume that, you know, according to what I see, there is no radiation, there is no, you know, invisible forces, yeah, or aura or something. And then when I see after, and I have an ex-student of mine in my mind right now, he's Croatian. He did all 6 modules. He was so persistent in it. And he was not really in the beginning kind of, you know, most representative future actor or student, but he developed so beautifully his, you know, maybe modest talent or something that he didn't know how to show, but he developed it so in such a strong and beautiful way. So this is really, when I see that, you know, that somebody is so determined and persistent and does the work and training for years and really achieves a big transformation, also personal transformation, is really beautiful and much rewarded. So.
And we came to our last question. Is the technique helping you in your everyday life? And if so, can you give some examples?
yes, I really think that, no, I know that the technique really became a style of my life. Because I also, especially lately, I meditate a lot, and it really also deepens my knowledge about myself and about this, what I talked previously about, the egoism, I, and, you know, even divided consciousness, and higher intellect. So an example in my private life, it is in small, it reflects in small things. You know, as a person, I'm very impatient, and I know that, but you know, we know, and then we forget, and then we are reminded. So I know it is not good for me. So I really use the Chekhov technique in order to behave less patient. So I use a lot of feeling of ease and feeling of beauty and form, and basically the four principles are kind of drive everyday driving force, and then it goes beyond that, of course, because we know that one element awakens another one and another one and another one, and it goes on and on and on. So I'm also very sensitive with the atmospheres, and I know that I can change it if I don't like it. So I use that as well.
Not only as a teacher, you're talking about, I mean,
No, privately. Yeah.
It's interesting.
You know, when I come into the space, I was always very sensitive to the smells and, you know, colors and everything that I can perceive with my senses. I was always, you know, maybe not so aware, but became more aware and conscious about it. I think this thing with consciousness is very important in the technique as well. So I know immediately when I come into the space, which is, you know, making me smaller or oppressing me or something, doing to me something with, I sense the gesture, and then I know, okay, I just need to transform it, and I can do it. So I started to work with it, and I can do it simultaneously with doing other things with other people who don't even know what I'm doing. So, and it works. Jobst Langhans is also one of my teachers who I appreciate very much. And once he told me, you know, when you have, I was acting department in the Academy of Dramatic Arts for some time before I went to Shanghai. And I had struggles and difficulties. I wanted to, you know, improve things, and I had a lot of resistance. And then Jobst told me, just before one meeting, which was very heavy and difficult, I assumed it's going to be very heavy and difficult. And he told me, you know, when you come into the space, just imagine the lights in every corner, and just, you know, work, you know, just let these lights radiate into the space, and don't pay any attention to your colleagues, or just work with these lights, and you will become one and just radiate as one. So, but I didn't succeed with that. It was but I did use it in another occasions, but this one was too heavy. I was completely lost actually in the content and, you know, in the form, I guess. So I didn't have much time to deal with that. Anyway.
I'm trying to think about another technique. Maybe I'm just, you know, maybe I don't being objective, but I'm trying to think about another technique that can really, really help you in your everyday life. Can't think about one.
No, maybe, yeah.
I don't. The Chekhov technique. I mean, the Chekhov technique can do it.
Yes, yes, because it deals with so many levels. it is also spiritual. It deals with our souls. It deals with invisible forces. It deals with energy. It deals with everything that we experience as human beings. So, yeah, I mean, my knowledge with other technique is not that big. I mean, yeah, Lee Strasberg, but Sanford Meisner and Stanislavski as well. But yeah, maybe just a little bit of Grotowski. I cannot think of any other. Yeah.
Susanna, that's it.
You're tired.
I want to say a huge thank you. It was so interesting to talk to you. You're very inspiring, and thank you for this talk.
Ophir, you know what? I should thank you because to give me this opportunity and to share with you, because your questions are really kind of right questions. I mean, it really opened, these questions opened also new things for me, and the answers really came out of pure experience. So thank you for that.
I'm glad.
This experience was now in this present time.
I'm glad. Thank you.
We created together something, so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.